Everybody, it's Martin at Flicking Feathers today again, and going to be tying an Iwai Minnow. This is a pattern that's really popular in Japan for sea bass. I'm going to tie it in like the sort of original or traditional version, and then I'll do another video later to show like, how I tie them for my fishing, which is a bit different. Really effective for Japanese sea bass and a range of other species. If you fish for predatory fish, they're probably worth a wee space in your box. But as I say, they can be the original pattern can be improved quite a bit to make it more effective. So the first thing you need is some foam cord. This is 8mm. You can get this from your packing supplies or whatever. If you get it from a fishing shop, it will just be labelled as minnow foam. 8mm, 10, whatever. You just need to match it to the size of your the minnow that you want to tie, and make sure your mylar piping also matches the size. So you cut your piece of that. It's almost invariably packed in rolls, so it'll be bent. And the thing to do is just put it flat on your desk and roll it back and forward under your hand. Apply a bit of pressure, and you can see there that straightens it out quite nicely. You can give it a stretch as well. Then come in whatever end's going to be your tail and just cut it to a long shallow taper. This just helps it to slide into the mylar piping better and gives you a smoother transition at the tail end. So when you match it up to your mylar, leave the mylar a good ½ inch longer at your tail end, and maybe I like to leave about 1.5 inches or so at the front, right, when I cut my mylar pipe. So I'm left with, once I've measured it out, I'm left with something like this. It's about for this minnow it's about 1.5 times. It doesn't always match up when you go thicker or thinner with your foam and piping, right? So I've taken the core out of the mylar braid, and before I put it on the vise, I'm going to make the tail, and for that I'm just going to take some flash, or you can use like a synthetic material like EP fibre or something, and I'm just going to tie an overhand knot in the middle. Then I'll push this into the mylar piping, and I'll leave a short distance from the end. Now, you don't need much. The knot helps stop it slipping. Then again, this has been done off the vise. Just got to take my thread. This is just flat wax nylon and tan or white. Any pale colour will do. And I'm just going to grip it and come in and wrap quite tightly over the mylar. It's a wee bit fiddly, but you get used to it. Then trim away your waist, and I'll just come in another few turns. And that's that nice and secure. Right, that's not going. That flash is held in place quite nicely. I'm going to take some super glue get used to just changing hands, and I'm going to run it onto the thread. And then make sure you don't touch any of the thread with your fingers. You don't want to stick to it. And again, just come in, wrap that glued thread, pull it nice and tight. Then you can just quickly touch it with your fingers just to set the glue off. Nip it in. I'm just kind of rough cut that at the moment. And that's, you don't need to worry about that because it's the whole minnow will be coated later, so that's all that takes. A wee fishing tip for you though is I sometimes tie these with rattles in the foam, and then I just use a red band at the back so it's easy to look in my box and see which has got a rattle and which doesn't. So then we take our foam, and this can be a bit fiddly, but just slide it in, and it's better to push the pipe in rather than try to pull it, because it will work like a Chinese finger trap. And you just keep on going until you've filled the pipe. You can pinch the foam inside if you're careful. That'll help you shuffle the tube over it. There you go. I mean, it's not the end of the world if the back's a wee bit empty, but I like to get it as well filled in as I can. So you just keep working at that until you're roughly there. Or if it's something that looks like this. Now, you're wasting a fair bit of pipe, but there's no really anything you can do about that. Like, if you start trying to cut it short and squeeze it in and what have you, you end up just wasting more because it doesn't cover the whole tube and stuff. So the next thing to do, here's my hook. This is a B10S size 2. But come in, I'm just going to have a look where I want the hook to come through the tube, and I'll just mark it with a pen. So I've got a small red dot. Set that aside. Now I'm going to run on some thread along the body, or along the shank of the hook. This is just to make the fly a bit more durable. Most of the Japanese guys I know don't do this. They just put the hook in and tie it on. But the thing about these flies is they only last, especially the way a lot of guys here tie them, they only last a couple of fish. And I always like to try to build as much durability as I can into the fly. I don't want to tie 50 of them if I can, I'd rather tie 5. So I'll trim this extra mylar away, leave myself a ½ inch or so. Take the hook out of the vise, and then just pierce it. I don't know how well you can see that. I'm not going in the middle, I'm going in sort of the bottom half, so about a quarter to a third of the way up from the belly, in line with the spot that I've made for the hook point to come out. And you just thread it through, bring your hook out through the point, pull it and get a wee stretch and make sure everything's sitting. Get the hook back in the vise, and I quite like that. That's fine. By marking it, it means you can put it right through and you're not tearing the mylar piping too much. At this point I like to pull everything back, and I'll get some gel super glue. Get plenty on there. And then I'll push that back on. Get it sort of shaped how I like it. And that can sit there. So I'm not going to come back in with my thread. You can use whatever colour you like. If you want to add a coloured section or whatever. You know. First off, I like to catch the mylar in. It just helps to lead up onto the foam, and then tie over the foam as well. That'll give you a really nice secure fit, right? Then get rid of all this excess. And tidy everything up. It doesn't need to be beautiful because we're coming back later to finish the fly, but if you can get it nice and tidy, that's good. Then just come in, tie a quick finish, right? And there's enough sort of residual super glue there that you don't even need to worry. But this is the stage where if you want to put any markings on, you would do it. I always just come along the belly, inside the hook, a bit of red. That's about it. One of the guides I know here, he loves like an orange back with red, like an orange top side with an orange back and red back and red stripes as well. It's up to yourself. Now, obviously this stuff's really fragile, so you need to coat it with something. I'm using liquid fusion. I'm going to coat it from the thread wraps at the back up to the front of the body. And make sure you get plenty on the belly area. Just pick up a toothpick here. You can use your bodkin. You can sort of spread it around. Try to coat everything as well as possible. I mean, if you miss spots, you can snag them later. It's no crucial that you get it entirely coated. Sometimes it's difficult to see until the glue's set. And we just make sure and get plenty in. And that makes it quite a bit tougher when it sets. Don't use epoxy, it's too hard and you'll hook about 0 fish. So I'm going to swap this out for one that I did earlier, and I'll stick this one on my drying wheel. Normally I would tie a batch of bodies, and then I'd come and finish them if I was going to tie this style. Sometimes people like them like this. So the head end is just got to start my thread again. You can use clear thread if you really like, but I'm not that bothered. You can either use for eyes. You can either use a black plastic bead chain or plastic dumbbells, or the kind of classic version here is glass beads, you know, like a glass bead dumbbell burnt onto nylon. For the throat, some sort of red fibre. I'm just using EP. So just come in, lash that down, 2 or 3 turns is plenty. Get a trim away your waist. And then I like to just come in and sort of taper that. Largely for cosmetic reasons more than anything else. And then just whip that down securely. And then I'll get my glass beads that I've burned onto the stock. It's just slipping on me. So because it's slipping, it's got a bit of wax to help me with my grip. And then, so you just figure 8 these in, sort of tidy up. Come in, I'll whip finish. And then, I almost forgot, I like to just carry the red on up. Then I'll come in with some bit more liquid fusion. And between the eyes, sort of generous blob over the transition between the body, because this stuff does shrink as it dries. And then I'll just come in, spread that about, try not to get it on your throat. And there you go, that is basically the Iwai Minnow, which is a very popular Mylar minnow pattern here in Japan. It works very, very well for Japanese sea bass, which is a Suzuki. It's probably the most popular sea bass fly, to tell you the truth, especially in the winter. Very, very, very popular. So, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that was useful. Keep your eyes peeled for the follow-up, where I'll do sort of a variation, a sort of a different Mylar minnow, which I think is a definite improvement on this pattern, although this is effective. So, Please remember to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up below if you enjoyed the video. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Tight lines.